Thank you for the organizers for giving this opportunity to talk about the career options in USA. It's a long process, but it's doable. Many of them, the students now I see that they plan in their medical, while doing MBBS, they plan ahead and they do this. That's been very like a doable process for medical student to enter into US and practice. They have to register and should be accredited through Education Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. Before that, like all the graduates who are graduated from medical school outside the USA, they are like all categorized as international medical graduates. Like they can be like citizens of US or non-US citizens. If they are graduated from any medical school outside USA, they're called international medical graduates. In the US medical workforce, approximately 22% of the in residency training are international medical graduates, and active practicing physicians, international medical graduates, they comprise about 23 to 24%. So it is, you can say, one fifth to one fourth of the practicing medical, active practicing medical physicians are IMGs. There are two pathways. One is enter into the US residency soon after your medical college, that is after completing MBBS, or you can do it even after post graduation from India, like MD. You have to certified by ECFMG to take the USMLE and then move forward with the residency. So ECFMG is the Education Commission for Foreign Medical Graduates. They assess whether the IMGs are ready to enter American Medical College, that is ACGME, American College of Graduate Medical Education. So all US medical colleges are accredited under ACGME. So the ECFMG will assess whether the IMGs are ready to enter into this accredited residency programs. So ECFMG certificate is required to enter into any residency. All this information can be obtained at the ecfmg.org website. When you plan to get into residency in US, the first thing you have to check is confirm that the medical school you graduated from meets the ECFMG criteria. So in the ECFMG site, there is a link of World Directory of Medical Schools. That is wdoms.org, where all the medical school which are meet the criteria for ECFMG are listed. And in that, check whether your medical school is included, that meets the criteria. And then once your medical school is included in that, and you check the sponsor notes in the site where you have your medical school information. This will state whether the graduation years for which the medical school meets criteria. It has to include the year you graduated. Sometimes like it may be like before you graduated, during graduation, or after graduation, it may be suspended. So be careful, like before you start, check this information. Once your medical school is there and then it meets the criteria that your year of graduation is accredited and meets the criteria, you start applying, start the process through the ECFMG. So what ECFMG does is, it verifies all your credentials, like where you did your medical school, and whether all this they meet the criteria. You have to submit transcripts, and it is a cumulative mark sheet. Previously, when like 20 years back, when I had like, there is no knowledge or no concept of transcript. We get the individual mark sheet for every semester, but now, because a lot of people are coming, so medical schools now, they know what is a transcript to give it to ECFMG. They have the format. They do a cumulative mark sheet of the 4.5 years that you were in the medical school. And you have to like submit the certificate of passing the final exam and the certificate from the university. So this is all verified, and you have to submit all this to the ECFMG. It will be verified. Once it is verified and then it's okay, then you can move forward with the exams. So for once it is cleared, you have to take one communication skill requirement exam, that is an English test. Previously it used to be TOEFL. Now they have occupational English test medicine, OET medicine, that is also administered by ECFMG. It can be taken either in the centers, like a Sylvan centers or Pearson centers. It is in all like international centers were also available in India. Um, that is for the communication skill. And for your professional part, you have to take USMLE Step 1 and Step 2 CS. USMLE Step 1, it is the basic medical science, like the preclinical subjects like anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, microbiology. And Step 2 CS. Step 2 CS is clinical, it is CK, clinical knowledge. So that is includes the paraclinical and clinical subjects. And they had another step, like a Step 2 CS. This is CK. It should be clinical knowledge. It is only the MCQ test. And Step 2 CS is a mock practical clinical cases. And they had this Step 2 CS until just before the pandemic, and it was suspended last year. And now they have decided not to have a Step 2 clinical skill, and they discontinued. As they discontinued Step 2 CS, they introduce a different set of it is not an exam, it is a process. The pathways, it has 5 steps in the pathways. It is pathway 1 is if you are already licensed to practice medicine in another country, you have to complete the pathway 1. That is, it is again applying, and they have to verify whether your license is genuine, and it will be done. And pathway 2 is you already passed a standardized skill exam for medical licensure. It is like a passing your final exams, but you get your license in India after completing the CRRI. So it is the pathway 2 is like it is comparable to passing the final exams in India before residency. You haven't received your medical licensure. And pathways 3, 4, 5, for the students you are not yet obtained license to practice. Maybe like you completed your residency, not received your license, or you did not complete your final exams. So that is for 3, 4, 5. And pathway 6, it is for the people who have, like the students who have taken step 2 clinical skills before, just before the pandemic, before it was suspended or discontinued, but they did not pass. Or for the people, like there are some not eligible for licensure, or they did not pass the standardized exams, or they are going through the exams. So these are different pathway. These are not exams. These are the process that you have to submit additional documentation. This just started the beginning of this year, the pathways. So once you have cleared your USMLE step 1, USMLE step 2 clinical knowledge, and all the steps in the pathways, you will receive an ECFMG certificate. So once you receive ECFMG certificate, you apply for residency. Usually this is done in summer. Summer is like June, starting from June, July to till in the fall, that is October, November. So the application process for residency, that is done through the Accreditation Commission for Graduate Medical Education, ACGME website. It's all in the ECFMG website. They have all this information also. So when you go there and you start applying for the programs, residency programs. What are the other requirements for applying for a residency programs? You have to have recommendation letters from professors. Recommendation letters is like you would have worked with them. They give a letter like about your work ethics and your character, your attitude. So they put that in the letter and they send it. What you can do is you can request letter, sealed letter from the professors, that can be directly sent to the ACFMG, and then they upload in the system so that the programs you apply, they can view, but you will not have access to view the letters. Or you can get letters from your professors and then send it to the programs or to ACFMG to upload. It can be done either way. But sealed letter carries more weightage compared to the letter that you receive and then send it to the ECFMG to upload. And apart from letter of recommendation from the professors, you have to get a dean's letter from your medical school, or either from the medical school where you did your MBBS, or from the medical school where you did your MD. It can be any one of the deans. And other requirement is personal statement or essay. This is very important. They give a lot of importance to this personal statement. Personal statement, you describe and write it in a nice way that why you came to medical school, why you want to take either pathology residency or internal medicine residency. So some life-changing incidents that made you to get into medical school, and you had to write that as an essay or a personal statement. And what are your goals, and where do you see after like a 10 or 20 years when you get into this residency? So that is the essay, like your statement, like why you wanted to do, why you wanted to enter into medical school, and why this specialty. So that is very important. And then you have to include a CV. In CV, as Pramila mentioned, like you mention your education and work experience, any research experience, any outside your professional hobbies. You can mention all that in the CV. So all the documents required to apply for residency, and you apply for residency through that ACGME site. And when applying for residency, it's like you have to choose like where you want to apply, which programs you want to apply. Either like you can choose like um, um, the big cities, bigger programs, or popular programs. Yes, you can apply, or you can choose a smaller program size, like where they have only 3 or 4 residents per year. And another is the location. I said like whether it is a bigger city or smaller places, you can choose. Specialty, you can choose any specialty. Even if you completed your MD pathology or MD microbiology, you can choose like a change track and apply to clinical residency, like internal medicine, family medicine. So you can change track also. But um, the reason to change track, that needs to be like specified or put it in a nice way in the personal statement, so that you can get into clinical residency. And pertaining to pathology residency, um, most of the pathology programs, they offer anatomic pathology and clinical pathology. And only very few programs offer either only AP or only CP, clinical pathology. AP includes autopsy, general surgical pathology, cytology, and some exposure in, I think, hematology also they include. In CP, chemistry, microbiology, coagulation, and lab management. So this is the main division between AP and CP. And even after like joining APCP program, you can choose the certification only either AP or CP. That is also can be done. And once you apply for the programs, usually like you follow up with the email to the there will be a program coordinator, a secretary. So you can email them and then express your interest, and they can review usually they review all the applications that comes through the site. And you can follow up with them whether they received all the letters, dean's letter, and their score, the USMLE score, everything. And what is the process of interview? Usually it will be in the fall or winter, like November, December, January, February is the interview months. Usually they call in small groups of applicants. They are applied for their program, and they take the small groups to tour their facility. They show their state of the art, like what are the facility they have, and they tour the facility. And then you meet with the program director, you meet with the residents, fellow, and some faculty. After that, they like during that process, you discuss your interest in their program, why you want to come to their program, and what is so special about their program, and anything that makes you a better candidate for them to match you. So these are the discussion. It is not very formal. Usually it is very casual, one to one. They are very friendly chat with the program director and others. And when you're talking to residents and fellows, you can talk about how the teaching aspect and then training goes on. So they give all the information. And then once the interview is done, that is the matching process. Matching is if you have attended like a 20 interviews, you go and match like which one you choose first. So all the 20 you can match. Like you have to give the preference, number one institution, number two, number three. So you rank your institutions. The same way the institutions, if they've interviewed like a 50 people, they can like rank all the 50, or they want only like a best 20, they rank the best 20. So this process, like based on your ranking and the institution ranking, the match process will go on, and then usually in early spring they release the match results. That is that you are matched with the program, and in couple of days you know where you are matched to the which institution. Once you are matched, either you can get a J1 visa or a H1 visa. That is again a long process, but it is either J1 or H1 depending upon like what the institution are authorized to do. For J1 is a student exchange visa. It is between the two governments, like from the exchange visa program between Indian government and US government. It's with many countries. So what Indian government will say is, we are lacking people in pathology training, so we are sending our this candidate is coming there to get training, and after training they have to come back to India and serve India for 2 years. So that is the J1 visa. This is easy to get, no issue, and this goes through the Ministry of Health in New Delhi, and they give a no objection certificate, and you sign, yes, after completion of my residency I'll come to India to work for 2 years in India. And what happens after 2 years? Yes, you can if you can get a job in US, you can go back to US after 2 years. That's no issue. Like many IMGs, they do that. I also like came back to India. I stayed there 3 years, and then I came back to US and got a job, and I got my H1 visa. And the other visa is H1 visa, and many institutions, they sponsor H1 visa also. For institute to sponsor H1, the requirement is you should have completed step 3. Step 3 is USMLE step 3. USMLE step 3, that is an exam mainly for licensure. After you complete step 1, step 2, English test, you enter into the residency. You finish your residence. While doing your residency, you take your step 3 and apply for license. But the step 3 can be taken even before entering into the residency. You take step 1, step 2, step 3, English test, and then apply for residency. That also can be done. So for H1 visa, if the institution is sponsoring, you have to have passed USMLE step 3. And once you get your visa, it is usually in March, you know, like whether you matched with the institution and the institution is sponsoring H1. Usually they give all the paperwork, and then you get the visa stamping in the home country, and then come to US. Or if you are already residing in US for with a visitor visa, you can go back to the country or neighboring country, get to visa stamping, and then come back. And one good thing about H1 visa in March, when you get the acceptance in March, this H1 visa, it does not fall under the yearly H1 visa numbers. For other like IT and other H1, that falls under the visa number cap. But whereas this medical from ECFMG, this H1 visa, it does not fall under the uh, yearly visa numbers. Once you enter, you get your visa and then complete your residency. As I said, it can be like an APCP or AP only or CP only. If it is combined APCP, it is 4 years APCP residency. After 4 years, you apply for a fellowship and get into fellowship. You can continuously do APCP and a fellowship, and then if you are on J1 after fellowship, either like you can go back to the country to do 2 years, and there is one option to stay in US. Like if you have a very good research academic, like a lot of paper work research going on, what you can obtain is an outstanding visa. So the institute sponsors, okay, this person is outstanding, his or her work in research is very essential. So they can waive off those 2 years, and that you have to get a no objection from Ministry of Health from New Delhi, and then you can continuously stay. And once you stay in O visa, you have like a 3 years to get some employer sponsor you a green card, and you can stay here, get a job and stay here. So that is one option to not to go back to your country. But most of them, they go back and then come after 2 years. If you are in H1, after you finish your residency fellowship, you can look for a job, and either you can go in an academic setup or a private setup or in a corporate hospital. Academic setup is where they have a residency program, and there will be a research and teaching is given more importance. And in a private setup, the more of a diagnostic importance. There is not much for research. There will be like a small research projects that is helpful for their practice that will be going on. It is not like a big funded research project will not be going in the private hospital setup. And the mode of practice in both setup is same. The academic setup, they give more importance to research and in teaching. And in corporate hospitals also, they hire pathologists, and it's same like corporate labs in India. Usually the specimens and the blood drawn from smaller hospital setup and then sent to this corporate labs, they process and release the reports. So there are these three options, like either academic setup, private practice, or a corporate setup. So how to prepare for the USMLE or come to US for your professional growth while in med school? Um, uh, you can prepare for step 1 and step 2. If you are planning to come in, like you can start in your first or second year of medical school. You can take step 1, that is the preclinical subjects, as soon as you finish your first and second year of MBBS. And then as soon as you finish your final year of your MBBS, you can take your step 2. That includes the clinical subjects. That is step 2, clinical knowledge. So in that way, you don't have to spend like an extra time after completing mid school to take USMLE step 1 and step 2. And another important step I see few of the international medical graduates, they take is internship. After you complete your final year exams and passing, you can do an internship, the same as CRRI in India. You can do a 3 months or 6 months internship in US medical schools. This you had to apply a way ahead, like a year or two ahead in institutions, because they tend to fill up very fast. And then, like all over from the world, they try to come and compete for this internship. So it can be like even a 1 month internship or 2 months internship in the specialty where you like to work. Um, and by doing internship, it helps you to know the system, how the system, hospital system works in USA. And another advantage in doing an internship in US is that you can get a recommendation letter from a US physician, like whoever you are working with during internship. They can write you a recommendation letter. That's really helpful. But I haven't done internship. I After completing MD, I came here. I did not have the opportunity, or I did not
The
have any.
internship period is minimum and maximum. Any duration is there? 2 months.
No, no, no minimum or maximum. It depends upon the institution. Some institutions they offer only for a month. Some institutions they offer 3 months or 6 months. And internship, it helps, but it you don't have to have it. And another step is shadowing or observership. You took all your exams, and you are waiting for the process to go on. So you have some time. You can call some hospitals and ask them like whether you can shadow or do as observership. Shadowing and observership is like when they are on the clinical rounds, or they are doing clinical pathologic correlation conference, or grand rounds. You just go and be an observer. You don't do anything, just observe. That helps to for you to get a hang of like how the system works, what are the routine. So that will also helpful. And during rounds, you go with them. You can't touch patient, or you can't do any procedure, but you can participate in the discussion. So
So this internship and shadowing, there is no, they don't pay you or anything, no?
they don't pay. The internship and shadowing, they don't pay.
Okay.
Internship, you can, it's like a CRRI. You can take part in the patient care, but that is also depends upon the institution, like whether they allow or not. With it can be just an observership also. But shadowing and observership, no patient care. You cannot take part in the patient care, but you can just observe and take part in the educational discussion. And so this is the process of getting into an either like an MD, and then exams, and go about like getting license and practice. If you don't want to like take these steps of exams and the process, there are other ways also, but you cannot get a medical license to practice. The other opportunities are getting a master's in public health. It is a MPH. It is a master's degree that's done in many universities. You can do either 2 or 3 years. You can apply and do MPH, and then you work in a public health related field. And you can do MBA. For that, you need a GRE exam. And you can, after MBA, you can work in a hospital or lab admin position. And you can even apply for a PhD. For the PhD also, you require a GRE, and then you require a project and research paper to complete and graduate from PhD. And there is another opportunity that's very rare, but it can be done. And it is a fellowship, 1 year fellowship, or it is a 6 months fellowship that is done only on J1 visa. You don't have to do a USMLE. This is like you are already like specialist in a field. Like for example, you are in a blood bank officer. You've been working and you have a lot of experience, and you would like to get a fellowship training, and you are going back to your country. You are not going to stay in US. And only very rare institutions, if you have connections, they allow you to do this 1 year fellowship. And after this you cannot stay in US. You have to go back to your home country. So this is like usually people with like quite a few year experience, but they don't have they want to have a new technology, technique, training. For those people, they go abroad, do a fellowship, and then come back. So usually high connection, some people they allow, but you cannot stay or get licensed to practice in US. You have to come back home. Okay. So these are the other pathways to get a degree in US. Like if you're already MBBS or MD, you can practice. Not in professional like medical licensure, but other sectors.